everyone, it's Tammy Pally, aka the Crafty Princess, and today I have a book review for a book that I saw mentioned on the Cherry Heart podcast. She is a crocheter and knitter. Her podcast is super popular on YouTube, so if you don't watch it already, you should just head over to Cherry Heart and check her out. But this is the book that she showed, and she had actually made a couple of the little animals in this book. And I was just smitten. I mean, I love amigurumi anyway. And honestly, I hadn't done an amigurumi project in quite a while. But when I saw this, the amigurumi bug came back and bit me again. And I had to get this. This book is called Cute Crochet Animals, obviously, you see from the title. And the author is Emma Varnam. Okay. You can get this. I got my copy at, of course, Amazon. And just fair warning, if you are a U.S. crocheter and you've never used UK terms, this is UK, okay? So, and I don't know if everybody knows that, but one of the weird things about crochet is that in the UK and in Europe, most places in Europe, I believe, but definitely British crochet terms are different than American crochet terms. I don't know why that is. It's kind of strange. You don't find that in knitting, but for example, a single crochet in US terms is really a double crochet in UK crochet terms. So just be warned, okay? And yeah, that's something that if you've never done that before, as you're reading this, you have to keep reminding yourself if it says double crochet and you're used to doing US terms, then for us that's single crochet. But it's definitely doable. I was a little put off at first. This is the first time that I have ever done any UK patterns. So, but it really wasn't bad. At first I was, a little bit hard to get the brain working, but then, most of the stitches are single crochet anyway because it's amigurumi, so not a big deal. So yeah, let me say I really enjoyed this book. I'm still in the throes of it. In fact, let me just show you what I've made so far. I've made the little bunny. Let me see. This bunny, obviously this bunny's on the cover, and let me find her picture. Her name is Emily. All right, so her name is they have a male and female version. They're exactly the same, it's just different yarn is used. So this is Emily. I named my bunny Violet after asking on Facebook for various suggestions. Somebody came up with Violet, and I thought, yeah, I like Violet. They came up with some really cute ones like Bonnie. That would be cute too. So anyway, Violet here is wearing a little sweater that I got the patterns in here, okay? And she's also wearing a little dress. Let me the dress is pretty darn cute, and I've made quite a few of these dresses now. Oops. I just stuck some thread. There's actually buttonholes in here, but I have been too lazy to sew the buttons on yet. So I mean, really, what's cool about this book is that not only does it have adorable animals in it, but it has accessories for all of them. Dresses and overalls, sweaters, coats, hats, purses, bow ties. I mean, it is chock full of stuff. So here she is in her little dress, okay? And she even has little yellow undies. This is part of the what do you call it? Part of the pattern. So she just has you change color yarn, and then you can, make the undies. And then here's her little bunny tail. I did make some changes, but nothing major as far as, following the instructions. For example, the bunny tail was supposed to be a pom-pom that she suggests you just make a pom-pom, but I'm a terrible pom-pom maker. Even with a pom-pom tool, I'm a terrible pom-pom maker, so I just made a circle. Okay, if I were to do her again, and I actually am doing her again, I have the head made right now. Though I probably won't for this one, but if I were to do her for not, the next one I'm making is for a child. And so I'm not sure about using I was going to use like a faux fur pom-pom, but I don't know. And I got to get that second one done because I'm going to be giving it to the child in a couple of weeks. So I've got the arms and the head and one leg made. So, and, but yeah, so I think that's a cute little tail. Yeah, it's pretty darn cute. And this, I mean, she sits, she's very squishy. Yeah, it's a very, in fact, this has been, if you follow me on Instagram or Facebook, you've probably seen my cat snuggling this little bunny. I set her on my couch, and they have been snuggling and snuggling on her for quite a while. So, yeah, let me set her here, right there, okay. And I've made a couple more dresses. This is the first dress I made, and I'm just using yarn that I have around the house, okay? So I'm not using the yarn that's recommended in the book, and I'm also not using the hook that she suggests you use. I'm using a size F US hook, and I believe, in fact, I'll look it up. Here's one of the dresses. I had some leftover Vanna's Choice, so it's just acrylic, okay? This is some I picked up on sale at Michael's it's called Loops. And I have to say, I've watched this multiple times now because this was the nastiest yarn. I couldn't stand. Near the end, it was all I could do to finish this thing. In fact, that's one reason why I have different shades of purple here, is because I could not stand to touch this yarn anymore. It's you know, the epitome of why I hate acrylic yarn sometimes. This was awful. Vanna's Choice wasn't too bad. Comparatively speaking, it's pretty decent, you know, as far as softness goes, acrylic yarn. But, ooh, that loop stuff, and I think that's a brand of Michael's, if I'm correct. So this little jacket I made using Brava acrylic yarn from Knit Picks, and I'm a big fan of the Brava yarn. So, yeah, this is, and I believe this is the jacket. It's called Nancy's Cardigan. All right. So, as far as the actual bunny, I had this Cotton Ease, which is a mix of acrylic and cotton, obviously from Lion Brand. And I don't even know if they still have this brand anymore. I think they do. I hope they do, because I really liked it. The color is Sand. All right. Really nice to work with. Finished product, super, super soft. Highly recommend it. The hooks that she suggests you use is a 3.5 millimeter and a 3 millimeter. And I don't know if you can even get a, can you get a 3.5 millimeter in the US? I just used, like I said, the size F hook, which is like 3.75. And I did look up the Debbie Bliss yarn she uses is a worsted weight, and this is also supposed to be worsted weight, but to me it's kind of on the thin side of worsted weight. Okay, I'm back. My phone was kept flashing that the battery was low, so I have a little adapter I plugged in there. All right, so like I was saying, I used 3.75 millimeter for like all of it. I didn't change. If she said to use the smaller one, I didn't do that. I don't really remember having read that anywhere that I would change to a smaller hook, but that's what the instructions for the bunny say, but I honestly don't remember. So yeah, everything in here is super, super cute. The animals, let me find, there's a page in the front where I can show you the animals. Clearly I'm not going to show you pages where they have, you know, instructions. But basically the bodies are the same. So that means all the clothing can fit all of these little different animals. And there's a male and female of each cat, bunny, fox, bear, and mouse. So I love this idea. I don't have any elementary school age kids to make these items for at this point. But if I did, I mean, I think, you know, like around anywhere from 6 years old or so would totally, I think, get into the idea of changing the clothes on the rabbits and the bears or whatever. Yeah, so I love the concept. I think for me, I'm going to make them for my 1.5 to 3-year-old grandnieces are going to be getting these. And so I'm, you know, that's one of the reasons why, for example, on these little dresses, she has buttons on there. But one of the things I did differently is I did a crochet trim, just a single crochet trim, and then left, you know, long ends here that can be tied instead of using buttons. Okay. What was the other thing I did? Oh, that's in fact, and that's one reason why I'm kind of like not sure about if I were to do this, and this thing keeps rolling out. This drives me crazy. I don't know if I would make one of these jackets because I don't know. I'd have to mess with it. This is basically the first one I made, and I goofed up on it. It's not, it looks okay on her when it's on, but the neck's kind of off a little bit somehow. And I goofed up, whereas at one side of these, I didn't turn this inside. I goofed when I was attaching it. And that, I guess, if I wanted to say what the pros and cons are, some of the cons are that the instructions for assembly tend to be vague. Okay? For example, you make, you know, she'll say, okay, make the head, finish off the head. Then you make, you know, the body. And then the instructions say something like, attach head to body. That's it. Attach head to body. Yeah, no kidding. I know I'm supposed to attach the head to the body. How would I do that? How exactly would I do that? Okay. I mean, I guess I'm kind of spoiled because I have used a lot of patterns from Stacy Troke, who is a amigurumi designer, and she tends to be very specific about that kind of thing. She'll say, you know, attach this, you know, limb to, you know, attach the arm to row between row 12 and 13, and, you know, something like that. I mean, her stuff tends to be a little bit more specific about the assembly of the item. And so because I've made a lot of amigurumi pieces, I was able to do that with this animal, for example. But I did, in fact, now that I say that, one of the things I did on this bunny is I made her, I added a few extra rows at the top because she doesn't really have much of a neck, if you can see. I mean, it's just, here's the head and then here's the body. And I wanted it tapered a little bit more because it was actually going to be a few rows shorter and it was quite wide. So yeah, so I ended up doing that. Another thing I did differently, she has you stitch the arms up right against the, like when you're crocheting the body, she has you attach the arms as you're crocheting the body. I wanted him to be something like dangling, and if you look carefully at a lot of these, see how the arms are like right up, I don't know if I'm explaining this correctly or really clearly, but the arms are right up against the top of the body instead of down a little bit. So I didn't really like that, so that's why I stitched mine on. And so as I did changes like that, I'm putting Post-it notes in so that I'll remember what I did differently. So, and those, I think that's my biggest beef with this book is that I would have liked to see things. For example, when I was making the sweater, I had a hard time figuring out, I mean, some of the pieces, like these two front pieces, weren't the same. And I think one of these front pieces I actually redid 3 times because I thought I just wasn't following the instructions correctly, but I counted and counted and checked and did it 3 times, and every time it came out exactly the same. So then I just said, okay, I'm just going to take a leap of faith and stitch it all together, but it doesn't quite look right to me. So And I know there's, obviously there's got to be a little bit of a difference because one side is the side that the buttons are going to be stitched on and one side has the buttonholes, but they looked so different to me, and they still just, the neck seems off to me. And again, there wasn't a lot of, like, I would have liked to seen pictures of assembling this, laying a picture that showed laying the pieces together. The back part of the book does have kind of how-to stuff, like, how to stitch, this is what's weird. It's like, it doesn't have something like that, but then it tells you how to hold a hook. So it's kind of confusing. There's stuff in here like how to hold a hook that's clearly for someone who's never even crocheted before, because they don't know how to hold a hook. But then the instructions kind of just say attach this to that, stitch that to that. Okay? Another thing is if you look at the face here, notice how those eyes and that rabbit are kind of sunken in a little bit, and mine are not. Like if they were pressed in a little bit more, it would look more like this rabbit, okay? But she did have, because I thought, okay, maybe there's something on her blog, or there's some etera that explains why this looks like this. And she did have a video that shows how she kind of, not only does she put the eyes in, but then she stitches in extra here. And I watched that video like 3 or 4 times, and I was just, I don't quite get it. And yeah, I didn't quite get what she was doing. I didn't understand it. There's not a mention of it at all in the book. So yeah. The ears, for example, are another thing that are kind of weird. She has you, there's holes in here when you make the head. She has you leave these holes, and then the ears, the ends of the ears, insert in there, and then you stitch them together. But again, that I've never done any stitch, like I've never done that before, where there's holes and then you put something in the hole and stitch it. I've done it where there's no hole and you stitch it. So that's not necessarily a con, as in it's not clear, but it wasn't real clear. Again, a picture of somebody doing it, a photograph or an illustration of showing how, because these are kind of off a little bit. Well, actually, it's not this one. It was the second one I made. I realized they were kind of off a little, because you got to basically need to fold them in half to get the look, and then stick them in there and then stitch them. And yeah, it was, it was interesting in that some of her methods are different than what I'm used to as far as amigurumi, so it was nice to try to learn other methods. But the follow through on the explanation was not crystal clear to me, so I felt like I was kind of winging it sometimes. And I mean, if I just don't want to wing it. Right? I want instructions. And I just think I would rather have a couple of photographs showing me how to do, assembling pieces than some of these where it's like, here's how to make a shell stitch, or here's how, like here's one, finishing touches. This just shows you how to stitch a couple things together, but I mean, that's, okay. I mean, how about showing me how to stitch the sweater pieces together? That would be really helpful, So, yeah, so that's my cons. I mean, my con is that if you're a beginner, I mean, unless you're an adventurous beginner and you're willing to maybe supplement, what is missing out of the book with checking on YouTube for extra instructions or things like that, I don't know. If I was a beginner, I would not, as a beginner, for me, I'm not an adventurous beginner. So if somebody is not an adventurous beginner, I would say, do not attempt this book. Not now. Go get some, go to Stacy Trock's page, even though I know her blog's kind of not really active anymore so much, but she has a lot of free patterns on, and paid for patterns, and even a book or two, honestly. Start with her, do some of her patterns, then come here, because the pro of this is this stuff is so stinking cute. I mean, I want to make everything in this book. Everything. I want to make the hat. Oh, there's a poncho. Yeah. Oh, and here's this. Look at this. Look how cute that is. that dude adorable or what? I mean, yeah, so because of the cute factor here and the fact that also it's just unique. I mean, I have never seen anybody, you know, get the idea, the concept together of making all these little items, these little extra items. I'm trying to find, where's that poncho? So here's the poncho. So yeah, a poncho for one of these little animals. That's adorable. So yeah, and you know, you can alter this a little bit if you want to make something smaller or bigger. I just went with stuff I had. Like I did not have a, and I will have to say too, anything smaller than a size F hook for something like amigurumi, I just don't have a tolerance for that. So that just wasn't gonna happen. Now that I've made her, and I'm gonna make, you know, some more for my grandnieces with what I have, I might splurge and get some of the Debbie Bliss yarn that she recommends. But we'll have to see. I mean, I have a lot of stuff like this that I can use. I have some, in fact, I have some really nice, that's recycled cotton yarn that would work real well for this as well. So I would say anything like acrylic or cotton will work really well for these, especially for kids, because they'll be washable and relatively soft. You know, so if you do go with the acrylic, you know, make sure you get soft stuff. In fact, this dress is made out of Red Heart Soft, and it's pretty soft. Okay, it's kind of splitty, but it's pretty soft. And I'm even going to use, I have tons left over, and for the rabbit I'm making right now, I'm going to make her undies out of this. So, but so my rabbit ended up being obviously larger than the ones in here. These are all about a foot tall. All right, and mine is 16 inches tall. So if you were going to make multiple ones, obviously, and you want to make sure everybody wears the same, you know, like, for example, I'm going to make a couple more. I might make the bears for my other two nieces. After I make the bunnies, I think I might make those little teddy bears. So because they're two girls together, similar ages, the older one would probably totally get, and she's pretty smart too, she'd probably totally get the idea of changing the clothes. I'll make things that are the same. So I wouldn't want to change the size and have one rabbit that, you know, say one bear that's 12 inches and one bear that's 16 inches. They won't be able to wear the same dresses. So just keep that in mind if you are going to be like me and don't use the recommended yarn and recommended hook. But yeah, I would, you know, for anybody else, and I don't remember how much, I want to say this is around $24. Let me see. Yeah, so it's US $19.95. Cost you $20 basically, US. I believe it was less. Obviously, everything usually is on Amazon. I can't remember exactly what I paid for it, but yeah, I'm going to get a lot of enjoyment out of making these items. I have little kids I can gift them to. I think these are even nice for adults. If you wanted, you could make a really cute one. Maybe use nicer yarn or something for, you know, a bunny or a bear or a cat or something for an adult. I think they would, you know, it's so, who can say no to a cute stuffed animal? Nobody. So yeah, that's my kind of pros and cons on the book. Hopefully it's not too scattered and you understand what I'm saying. I really like it, but like I said, I just wish there was a little bit more, or actually a lot more explanation on how to attach everything, and you know, the assembly part. An expansion on that would be super helpful. But I'm making, I mean, clearly I'm figuring it out. I've made 3 dresses, a jacket, and I'm on 1.5 animals. So it's definitely not impossible to figure out. Just a little frustrating sometimes. I want more. So more, please. But yeah, I hope you found this kind of helpful. If you have any questions or comments, please post them below. And as usual, thanks for watching and have a wonderful crafting day. Bye-bye.